Western Illinois head coach. Team coming off a opening game loss this week. They're going to be taking on another opponent this time Friday night. So a different week when they head to Indiana for that matchup after the game against Northern Illinois. So two FBS opponents to start the season. So Coach Davis, just thoughts on your team, and then we'll go to some questions.
Yeah. First opportunity, certainly as a team to play and travel together, against a really, really good team, Northern Illinois on Saturday. Came out, we were very competitive early, forced a turnover, I believe, on their second series, and went down and were able to put the ball in the end zone on a 55-yard pass that would have put us up, and a holding penalty took that score off the board, and could really never generate that consistent momentum again. So, a couple bright spots throughout the game, but certainly not the result that we were hoping for, and looking to make a big jump, when it comes to an execution standpoint here going into week 2.
Coach, we'll go to some questions first. And I know if you have a question, people have already let me know down in the chat. Just let me know and I'll call on you. And we'll go first with Barry from Prairie State Pigskin first, and then Daniel after that. So go ahead, Barry.
Good morning, Coach. Thanks for your time today.
Morning.
I wanted to start with you from week 1 to week 2, where do you expect to see the biggest gains?
Yeah, I think from an execution standpoint, you certainly want some of the base calls on an offense, defense, and special teams perspective to be improved. I've often said that great teams have the ability to master the mundane. And many of the close games, many of the big moments that happen during a team's particular team season really come down to the first and second day installations. Some of your base calls that you have the ability to consistently execute in very, very big moments. So, we had some of those moments Saturday, and we're a little bit hit or miss really in all 3 phases. So, just again, trying to move forward with being really, really good at the basics of our system here, and hopefully will give us something to build on as the season progresses.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about a guy you mentioned after the fall scrimmage, which was Tristan Duncan, who made some plays on Saturday. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how you kind of got to know Tristan during the recruiting process and what Tristan has added to this team.
Yeah, well, Tristan was one of 2 walk-ons that started for us on Saturday, against an FBS opponent. Tristan's a guy that we've used a little bit as an example to our team because he practices how he plays. He practices very, very hard. He's always flying around the field. He plays whatever position is asked of him, and you're able to see some bright spots with him on Saturday. He's a young man from Effingham, not too far away from here, that was a Division II recruit coming out of high school. Actually got into a very, very severe car accident his senior year of high school. Wasn't able to play his senior season. Wasn't able to play as he was recovering at the Division II school. So we went the junior college route, and we had a prior relationship with him from his high school recruiting, and brought him in here at the mid-year as a walk-on. So in spring football, he just kind of kept showing up every single day, and even through this fall, sort of fended off some transfers that we brought in to become a starting receiver for us. So excited about him. He's fast. He's got good hands. He's smart. He's tough. He blocks. He's a physically strong football player, and definitely a guy that we'll look to continue to build on here as the season progresses.
I have one more for you, Coach, and then I'll hand it off to Daniel here. But I wanted to know defensively, what are your expectations of this group? Willie Jones mentioned that pursuit to the ball needs to get better. Are there things that you saw that you think, hey, these are A1, A2, A3 for us to get better?
Yeah. I was a little surprised really at the lack of defensive execution Saturday. I just had thought that just from what I had seen in fall camp, just a little bit more tenacity from our defense. On all facets, in all facets of our program, and certainly on the defensive side, we had a lot of guys, making their first, collegiate starts and debuts and those sort of things. But, the ability to limit explosive plays is going to be a massive emphasis for us. If we can force teams to drive the football and they're able to score touchdowns, then those are things that at times we can live with. But there were way too many big explosive plays in the pass and the run game. that really, sucked any momentum that we had, out of that football game. So, just the ability to make sure that we're leveraging plays, we have edges to the defense, making sure that we're getting disruptions on second level releases by wide receivers are all things that contribute to limiting explosive plays, because it forces the quarterback just to hold on to that football for 1 second longer. So, those are things here going into week 2 against an excellent opponent that will be a big emphasis for us.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Daniel, who's with the Indiana Daily Student. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, watching IU from last weekend, what kind of stood out to you? Whole new staff, whole new roster, just your initial impressions of them.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really, really good football team that has done an excellent job of adding a lot of value through the transfer portal, and certainly, the head coach bringing a good number of players with him from an extremely successful Group of 5 program. Has been a big positive for them thus far. I've known Coach Cignetti for a long time. Coached against him in Division II, coached against him in the CAA, and now here in our early season matchup. So he's a detailed coach. He's built winners everywhere he's been, and the guys that they've added, I think certainly stand out on film. Especially on the defensive side of the ball, the players that he's brought from James Madison, they look like Big Ten guys. They're big, they're strong, they're fast. On the offensive side of the ball, having a veteran quarterback that was a first-team All-MAC kid at Ohio is going to pay big dividends for them throughout the year. So, we've got our hands full on Saturday, and are certainly well aware of the challenges that Indiana presents.
When you have a staff that is, again, new here and a roster that's so new, how much film of JMU are you kind of watching this week trying to prep for them?
Yeah, good amount. Really, regardless of opponent, we're going to turn over every single rock that we can to try to find an advantage. So that's not necessarily specific to Indiana. I think that's everyone that we watch. When there's a coaching change or early season games, you always dig back through old video as you're looking to present a plan to your football team. So, Coach Cignetti brought both coordinators with him from JMU. So there's obviously a lot of carryover schematically with what they're doing. And you can see that even in their first game against FIU. So, the players and the coaches are very, very well versed in that system. And I think has probably helped them as a program acclimate with a new head football coach a little bit quicker.
I had one more. You mentioned Rourke earlier. When I watch him, I'm not sure, high athlete is the term that initially comes to mind, but FIU kind of had him a few times, and he managed to escape. When you kind of look at trying to, move some pressure into sacks, what do you feel like are kind of the keys for you all?
Yeah, you talking about from a defensive perspective, or?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, making that quarterback hold on to the football, regardless of player, is going to be a positive for your defense. It just is. A veteran quarterback that you allow to get the ball out on what we call rhythm or one hitch throws, they have the potential to be very, very deadly, right? Because they know where to go with the football. There's fluidity and, like I mentioned, rhythm in their delivery, and certainly helps them become a lot more accurate. I think that's probably at any level of football. So, forcing him to hold on to the football. We do have a couple disruptive edge rushers here that really Saturday we weren't able to really get loose, so to speak. Northern Illinois played the game really on the perimeter, and a lot of balls outside of the box, not a lot of drop back pass, not a lot about an in pocket type game plan for our opponent this past Saturday. So, helping to potentially keep Rourke in the pocket and make him hold on to that football would be a big priority for us, and certainly will help us as we try to get pressure on him.
Really appreciate you, Coach.
Absolutely.
We'll go one more quick one back to Barry, and then we'll go to Coach George's time. So Barry, go ahead.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the protection up front. There was only one sack Saturday, which was a big improvement from last year. I know you like this offensive line group. What did you see, and how would you assess this group's performance as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the only sack of the game was the first play of the game, which kind of knocked us back a little bit. We tried to take a play action shot on the first play, and and just kind of couldn't hold up there. So yeah, I mean, there's some positives when you looked at the starting offense Saturday, Barry. I mean, all 5 starting offensive linemen have started Division I games, and those are the only guys in the offense that you could say that about. So certainly some bright spots. Definitely a lot to improve on. I think some of the avoidance of sacks is just Nate's natural athletic ability. He has an innate ability to escape. He's way more nifty on his feet that you think a kid that's 230 pounds would be. And so that'll help us throughout the season. I think any coach would tell you that they love when a quarterback can solve some issues with his feet. So, but we certainly have some work to do still with the offensive line and gelling that unit together. And again, the hope and prayer is that unit continues to progress and stay healthy throughout the season. And I think these early season tough matchups for us, especially in the front 7, will pay dividends later in the year.
Great. Thank you, Coach. Thanks, Kyle.
Coach, appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck Friday night, and then we'll talk to you again this time next week.
Great. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, guys.